this Thursday. A pleasure to have Dan Danielowski in studio with us. Of course, Timberlake Playhouse. Dan, we normally talk to you at the beginning of the season, but I was at one of the shows and you said I'd like to catch up with you, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate the invite now.
And we were talking before we went on air, and I heard in the news that you had recently been given a grant. Tell us about that.
Well, it's not often that theaters or actually any entity is able to get capital improvement grants. That's something that has just been very difficult. And a couple of years ago, we saw a capital improvement grant through the Tourism Attraction Program of DCEO. And so we wrote for it, and that's how we enclosed the lobby and winterized the theater, put in a new heating plant, and are able to do productions all the way through December. I mean, we could go January, February, March if we wanted to. And so another one came up last summer, and we wrote for it to finish these projects. And they told us actually back in January that we received the grant, but we couldn't say anything until the governor announced it. And the budget was passed in May, and the governor finally made the announcement last week. So we've been sitting on these projects for over 6 months, not being able to do anything with the projects, not being able to announce the projects. But now we've received the go-ahead, and we're ready to get going.
You know, to get this kind of money, you were talking about the writing of the grant, and you are the one who does that for the Timberlake Playhouse. Talk about that process, Dan.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of the grant writing is justifying how your use of this money will improve the goals of the grant. And basically the goals of this grant is to bring more tourism into Carroll County. These grants are written all over the state, so it would be the same for anyone else that was writing the grant. Like the Egyptian Theater got one of these grants a couple of years ago, and so they had to show how this would improve tourism into DeKalb County. So that's the bulk of the writing. So it's a lot of research on tourism. It's a lot of projections on additional tourism dollars once we expand into February or into September, and then October, November, and now December. So we could show how additional productions would increase tourism in the area. And we have a couple of things that we can do. Number one is just the numbers, but secondly, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence from the restaurants and the hotels and that sort of thing in the area, where in a lot of cases some of the hotels only are open when Timberlake is open. So ever since I came to Timberlake back in 2014, I'd hear from businesses, you guys have to open more, you have to be around longer. And so that's been a goal of ours, and we're slowly getting there.
You are getting there, no doubt about it. Again, visiting with Dan Danielowski. Now, your background was primarily in education before you came to Timberlake in 2014.
Yes.
So taking on writing a grant and some of the other things, is it just learning as you go?
So my actual degree is in lighting and sound design for the theater. That's where I started. But my dad said, you'll never make a living at that. So I also got the education credits. And I taught for 20 years, and then after 20 years I went into administration, and that's kind of where I learned the grant writing. One of my jobs was at the Roosevelt Community Education Center, where we had both an alternative high school, but also a very large program of GED instruction. And so I had to write that grant. It was about a $2 million grant every year, and I managed that grant, and that's kind of where I learned my grant writing skills. And then from there I went to a program in the southwest side of Rockford where we trained high school dropouts to get their GEDs, and then also to build houses. So we built 70, 80 houses on the southwest side of Rockford for scattered site low-income housing. And I continued writing grants through there. So when I came here, one of the goals of the board was for us to get more grants. And it's like, well, the hardest problem is finding them. So once you find them, writing them is at this point in my career anyway, relatively easy. It's a lot of work, but I understand the process, understand what they're looking for, and if your project is good, it works.
You have seen remarkable growth at Timberlake Playhouse in your 8 years there.
Yes.
What has it been like to see this transformation, Dan?
Well, it's actually fun. I think I can say this for anybody that's in theater. Back when you're doing other jobs, you're always dreaming about the theater you're going to build. And I remember sitting in study hall where I taught. Everyone had to, not everyone, but most of us had a study hall that we had to supervise. And while the other teachers were grading their English papers or looking over the social studies work, I'd have my paper out and I'd be designing this theater and all the different programs we'd have. Well, that's kind of what I've been able to do at Timberlake. And it was kind of fun during the process of interviewing and hearing what the board wanted Timberlake to become. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. So we started, when I came there in 2018, or 2014 rather, we had 4.5 acres of land, and we're now at 15. We've added the guest house. We've added the barn that we use as an alternate event space. The guest house is where we house our guest actors and our equity company. And so we own now that whole corner between Timberlake Road and Black Oak Road. And not only that, but seeing the additional entertainment that we do on the deck before the weekend shows. We have basically a restaurant. You can come in on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday. You can come and get supper or lunch there. We have a full array of paninis, and it's also kind of fun. I get to experiment with food and make new sandwiches. So now one of the most popular sandwiches is the bacon chicken love panini, where we fill a chicken panini up with cheese and bacon and chicken, and it's really a good sandwich. It's one of the ones that's ordered most often at this point. We have hamburgers, hot dogs, other pork chop sandwiches, that sort of stuff. So
You do it all. I was over there, and you were at the grill.
Well,
You're talking about making sandwiches. I've seen you on stage. You've directed some of the productions. What's your day like?
Well, it can be relatively busy, but part of it is not by design. We have hired 3 cooks to be down at the deck cooking, and we just can't keep. We can't hire enough and keep enough employees. The first cook we had, she'd call in almost every other day, and pretty soon it's like, well, we got to find somebody else. Then the next person had babysitting issues, didn't have a place for the kids, so you still got 30, 40 people coming down there expecting to eat, so someone's got to cook, and that ended up being me. And at the same time, Bill's across the street cleaning the theater because we're so short of maintenance staff. So it's been rough this summer.
Yeah. So if people would like to work at the Timberlake Playhouse, can they do that?
Absolutely. We're taking applications anytime during the day. If you truly want to work, be ready to start working on the day you apply and interview, because many people, we just say, come to work today.
Visiting with Dan Danielowski in the second half of the program, we're going to talk about what is all coming up yet this season. 1545 weather brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
So we'll have highs in the upper 80s this afternoon with feels-like temperatures in the low 90s. For tonight, mid-60s for lows, mostly clear. Friday, some heat and humidity continues for us, mostly sunny, highs near 90. Hottest day of the week still on track to be Saturday as we kick off your weekend. A heat advisory will likely be issued then, with mostly sunny skies, highs in the mid to upper 90s, feels like temperatures in the low 90s. Showers and storms likely to return by Sunday with highs near 90. With your Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Thank you, Andrew. We are at 74 degrees now, winds out of the northeast. Our update brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Everyone knows the climate changes quickly in the Midwest. Make your home comfortable all year round with Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Right now, Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning offers up to $480 in rebates, plus additional incentives on a whole home comfort system from Bryant. Whatever it takes.
No matter what the temperature is like outdoors, at least your home will always be comfortable when you trust Kelly.
Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning in Clinton, your Bryant factory authorized dealer.
FYI, on this Thursday, we're with Dan Danielowski of the Timberlake Playhouse. Let's talk about what is left to come yet through the end of the year, because there is quite a bit. But how has the summer season gone?
Actually, it's gone extremely well. The shows have been great. We've got nothing but good comments from our patrons, good reviews from your radio station, from the newspapers. So we're very glad to see that. But what we're really excited to see is the audiences are starting to come back. I was a little concerned in the first couple of weeks, and even the first weekend of Annie. But by the second weekend of Annie, we were starting to see audiences back in the 300, 350 range, even selling out some of the shows, which for us is about 370. And we thought, well, maybe this is just Annie, and it's a very popular show. But Legally Blonde, same way. Yesterday we had 380 people at the Nonsense show. So we're starting to see that starting to come back, which we were really concerned about if after COVID we were going to see audiences of that size again. Back in 2019, we projected that we needed to increase sales by 20%, and we were at 25% in February of 2020. And then in March, when COVID hit, of course, everything stopped. And then coming back last year, we were way below those numbers. We were at about 2/3 of what we typically have. And it's very hard to survive because whether you have 100 people in the audience or 400 people in the audience, it's going to cost you the same amount of money to put that show on. So, but we're starting to see that change. And hopefully that's something that will sustain through the rest of this summer and into next fall, or into the fall.
I know I get the opportunity to interview some of the resident artists on Tuesday prior to the start of the next production, and they seem to really appreciate the opportunity to work summer theater. The education away from school that they are getting is probably more valuable sometimes than what they're actually getting in the classroom. So what about this year's residents group?
They are incredible. It's one of the most talented groups. I mean, we say that every year, but it's like every year it's better and better and better. I watched when I watched the opening night of Annie, and I know Annie well. I did one of the first productions of Annie back in 1985 when it was released. We did a high school production. We were the first non-professional production of Annie in the country. And I've done it, I can't tell you how many times, as a director, as a designer. I even played Warbucks and shaved my head a couple of times. When I saw what our director, Jay Falzone, put on stage for that show, my jaw dropped. It was absolutely an incredible production. But what he did is he had this resident company, like in the NYC number, some of them played 7 different roles in just that number. And he had it done in such a way that it wasn't like, oh, there's John again, oh, there's John again. No, and then after you thought he couldn't do any more, he brought everyone out in tap shoes, and they did a Radio City Music Hall tap number at the end of that with Warbucks and Grace and Annie watching them. I just thought it was an incredible show. And we're continuing on kind of that same way with with the rest of the year. The Nonsense, which we're performing right now, is so funny. Oh my gosh, these 5 ladies are doing such an incredible job with this show. And I kind of stuck my head in on rehearsal, and I've been listening to what they're doing with the Queen, We Will Rock You. It is going to be a fabulous, fabulous show. And we have a director and now also a costumer who have been working with the RuPaul Drag Show. They're directing and costuming this show. So, I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this one.
Again, visiting with Dan Danielowski, listening to you, and you talk about the level of excellence that you are able to bring to Timberlake, not only on the stage, but behind the scenes as well. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. It's incredible that, and it's so nice. I've been hiring for the fall, and it's nice to be able to get on the phone and ask people, do you want to come to Timberlake? And they're like, yeah, we just have to work the dates out and make sure it works. I don't get any of the, that's out in the country. You're not in a metropolitan area. It's out in the woods. It's actually the opposite. I think in a lot of cases, we also have people not just coming because they know the work is good and they know the excellence of the theater, but also because it's like going on vacation for a couple of weeks. We pay them to vacation out in the woods and out here in a really neat part of Illinois.
Something that just came to my mind, we talk about the excellence that you get on the stage and the directors and things along those lines. What about the people who come to the Playhouse? Do they appreciate what they are seeing, Dan?
Well, I think some definitely do. But I think, sometimes when things have been done like this for so long, it's almost like, oh yeah, that's just common. That's just what we have here. I think a lot of those folks, if it ever went away, would be like, oh my God, what did we lose? What did we have here that we didn't appreciate? But I think a lot of people do appreciate. I hear a lot of times, people saying that I can't believe we have this kind of talent that will come out here. This summer, one of the directors, he's a Broadway director. The director of the first show has done regional theater all over the East Coast. And to get that kind of talent to come out here and work with us is really incredible. And then when you start seeing what our actors are doing, in a lot of cases after they leave here, right now, Emily, who was with us in 2017, is playing the lead in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. She's the first Black Christine ever cast in Phantom of the Opera.
That is amazing.
And she's on Broadway. We have 3 people right now. Well, I think one of the shows was cut during COVID, but who are playing major roles on Broadway.
We've had professional baseball here in Clinton for years, and one of the big selling points was you're going to see tomorrow's major leaguers today here at Riverview Stadium or now Nelson Corp Field. That's probably a big selling point for you guys as well.
We had looked at, how you do the taglines, theater in the woods, come for the show, stay for the experience. One of the taglines we looked at, see tomorrow's stars today. We thought that was a bit presumptuous, so we didn't use it, but that's really the case. You'll see a lot of the people we had last year in regional theater on Broadway. In fact, in April, I wanted to go out to the East Coast. I didn't make it because we were too busy. We had 12 people performing in either major regional theater or on Broadway or off Broadway at the same time last year. We had a lighting designer, stage managers, props, and 7 or 8 actors and actresses who were in regional theaters, 2 of them in Long Island, one up in the Finger Lakes area of New York, which is really big theater, and 3 on Broadway.
Talk about your contacts. You must have, do you have a Rolodex? How do you make these contacts,
Well, it's
Dan?
funny how the world is so small. It's the theater world is so small. So I'm looking for a director for our September show, We Will Rock You. Lost Highway. And I come across this person who directed it in Florida and off Broadway, and I'm like, we want to offer this to her. I can't find contact, so I'm interviewing another actor, and I saw on her resume he was at this theater in Florida. Do you know so-and-so? Oh, yeah, I've done this show with her husband, and I know her. So I get her contacts from him. She was so close to being able to come up and do it, but it just had a conflict with several of the dates and couldn't. But that's kind of how it works. Somebody knows somebody, and then, of course, we have all of our contacts, people that we know.
You know, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left in the program. Let's run down what is going to be coming up just quickly for our listeners.
So it's interesting how we still have a lot of people that think we're done after August. Somebody the other day said, I can't believe there's only one show left. And I said, well, there's more. There's actually, after Nonsense, which is going on right now through this coming Sunday, we will have We Will Rock You, which is the Queen musical, incredible show. It's one not to miss. And then Hank Williams' Lost Highway in September. We're really, really lucky to get this Defending the Caveman out here. It's actually being performed by one of the performers who's been on the national tour with it, and that's in October. And then Forever Plaid Tidings coming up in December. So we have shows on that stage all the way through December. And then on weekends when we don't have shows, we have concerts. We have the Hair Band Night coming on the last Saturday of August. We have the 615 Collective coming up out of Nashville. It's a cover band who also does a lot of their own originals and their country and folk and pop. And then we're really looking forward to our Fall Fest the last Saturday of September. We do a big fall festival with pumpkin decorating and hay rides and all that sort of stuff. In addition to Beer Fest. So we have craft beer from all over the area, Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And then that night, Midnight Rider, it's a Allman Brothers tribute band, comes in. Kiss Rock City in October, the Blues Brothers Boy Band Night and Brit Beat in November. And then we start to, excuse me,
Again,
we start
Dan,
doing our winter show then after that. We're also doing a couple movie nights. We have Hocus Pocus coming in October, and we're doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show again.
You've got to do that one.
So lots of things going on.
Oh, now, again, we appreciate your time. I know how busy you are over there at the Timberlake Playhouse. What about next season? When do you release what's going to be coming up?
Well, we have our big gala celebration on August 20th, and so everyone that comes to the gala, they bid on some great experiences, and then they bid on silent auction items and just help us raise. I mean, last year we raised $70,000 that evening. And then we'll go across the street and we'll do a cabaret where we will announce next year's season, and our resident company will sing songs from all of the different shows that we're doing next year.
So you know what next year's lineup is?
I am 87%
okay.
Sure.
I know. I'm not gonna have you release it. You're not gonna be able to release it anyway.
No.
But but it's something again we can certainly look forward to.
Oh my gosh! I said as we're picking next season, they all have to be blockbusters, and they are.
Dan, thank you so much for your time. People want to find out more because we covered so much. What's the website?
www.timberlakeplayhouse.org.
Break a leg.
Thank you, sir.
The 32nd annual KR